Please welcome Matt Debreau!
So it's 10 o'clock in the morning on a cold, frigid February as my wife and I stumble in dazed through our front door. I'm carrying a car seat, which I place down ever so carefully on the ground. It takes us 5 minutes to peel off our winter layers from the 5 minutes of the winter storm we had to walk through just to get to the car. And as we peel off our last layers, I look down at our precious bundle of joy jammed overprotectively into his car seat, and he's asleep. So I ever so carefully peel him out of his winter cocoon, pick him up, and place him down, still asleep. My first success as a father. And then the two of us slump down onto our couch and just stare at him. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what happens when he wakes up? Now, the two of us have been married 4 years. Numbers confuse me. And it's been the greatest relationship ever. And I'm looking at it, and it took us a while to get pregnant. And so we were finally pregnant, and we had a bit of a rough pregnancy. So we were in the hospital for a few extra days. But we were finally home. And this is where I lose my spot. Now, outside, I was exhausted. But in my head, I was like, oh man, now what, right? And now enter new dad Rolodex of paranoia. Like, what if I can't figure out why he doesn't want to eat? Or what if I don't understand why he's crying? Or what if he gets sick and honestly, I just don't know what to do? Like, there was no nurse to call like there was in the hospital at your beck and call. Are we gonna be okay? So the next few weeks, they honestly passed by in a blur. You know, being a new parent is like a grenade goes off in your head, in your home, in your life, all at the same time. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, there are these amazing magical moments, but it's also the most chaotic time of your life. And in all honesty, he was getting sick quite a bit. So, we tended to run to the ER. And I remember one night, I was thinking, until I had a baby, I never really understood the term projectile vomiting. Like, in all honesty, it really comes horizontal and at you like a fire hose. So I'm turned to my wife, Carrie, and I'm like, listen, his temperature's 38.2. He doesn't want to eat, and when we do get something down, he just doesn't want to keep it down. I think we got to go to the ER, right? Now, there's also something else you need to know about me. Now, while my day job is kind of designing stores and customer experiences, the thing I actually like to do at lunch is just quietly grab my sandwich and kick back with a little Wikipedia research. I know it's weird, but I really like researching because it's one of those things where you never know when the information might come in handy. And I would end up reading the weirdest of things, like weather systems of the world, and that would take me somehow to the history of Cape Coast Castle. But of course, because I got this new baby, I'm trying to figure out everything there is to know about babies. Which brings me back. So I'm mad dashing down the hallway with Ethan in hand, and we'll get to the elevator, hit it, get down to the car. We get in the car, we get to the ER. And they're doing their thing, and we wait forever, as anyone that's been in the ER knows. And finally, I get the doc's attention. And I pull him aside. I'm like, listen, dude, why is he so sick so often? And the doc calmly looks at me and says, just stop coming here. So, I was a little shocked, because honestly, I want to be casual about the whole thing. But I kept worrying, like, what if he's not going to be okay? That's what kept me going. So we'll fast forward. The next 6 months, they're going well. He's getting sick a lot less often, which is cool. Now I am still exhausted. I'm doing the new parent thing. I'm also burning the candle at both ends because we're a little strapped for cash. So I'm working full-time during the day and I'm freelancing at night. And it's because we're living in this tiny little condo, and it's a throwback to the 1970s, and we don't have any money to decorate because, quite honestly, we're feeding this weird cycle of diapers and formula, And, before kids, like I was saying, I always felt like my wife and I, Carrie, were such a good match. But in all honesty, now, as new parents, we had so many new things to fight about. We were disagreeing all the time, and all of a sudden, I'd be working at the wee hours of the morning, and I would quietly wonder to myself, like, maybe maybe this isn't such a good match. Like maybe as new parents, we actually cracked this rock solid relationship and we're not gonna be okay. So we needed a break. We chatted and we're like, you know what, we gotta get away. And like I said, we're probably not gonna fly because we don't have any money. But secretly, my wife is also a travel agent and she's not here, but she's super scared of flying because she doesn't want to fall 30,000 feet to a fiery death. So we decided to take a road trip because we figured that's safe. So I do some quick research and I picked 3 spots. Like what's 10 hours outside of Toronto? One of them, Quebec City. Like we both love it. It's beautiful at the end of summer, but quite honestly, my French sucks, and I'm worried that I won't be able to figure it out. And then secondly, I'm like Boston. Boston's pretty decent. And Carrie's like, oh, that's awesome. I got family in Boston, and that set off an alarm. I don't feel like hanging out with family. I just want to relax. So what about Chicago? And both of us had never been. So I was like, okay, that's a win. Convinced her, let's drive to Chicago. I'll do the driving. You know what, we'll duck up through Sarnia so we can avoid Detroit, don't worry about it. We'll spend the night and then drive on from there. So we're at the second day of our trip, all right? We just left, we crossed the border, everything is cool, and we're making great headway. Next page. And quite honestly, it's like, we're driving along and the warm September air is just flowing through the car. We got the windows down. We're in lower Michigan, so it's all farm country. It's awesome. Ethan's in the back sleeping. Carrie's also with him, and I'm up at the front just kind of plowing through. We got the radio cranked. We got a mix on the iPod because it was a little bit of time ago. And we're listening to like Pop Goes the World, right? And we're singing along to the tops of our lungs because Ethan would sleep through anything. And it was amazing. And the first leg of the trip, it was totally easy, and quite honestly, like the research that I was doing, I had to print out all these maps and stuff like that. And everything was going really well. And it was awesome. And we're on their second verse of like Video Kills the Radio Star, and it starts to rain a little bit. It's okay. So we put up the windows so we don't get wet. But then like it really starts to rain. And I can't turn the wipers up fast enough because now I can't see. I can't see from the drops. I can't see from the wipers. And I'm starting to get a little nervous. And I'm trying my best not to show it, but the wipers don't go up anymore. And so Carrie's also at the back with a bit of a migraine. And the clouds I'm driving towards, they're dark, like darker than I've ever seen. And they're low. Like I feel like I'm ducking while I'm driving. And the weird thing is like off in the distance, what it looks like, it's like these black tentacles just kind of coming down. And I'm thinking, oh my God, are these tornado clouds? I'm thinking, no, can't be. Because you know what, the sky's not green and there's no hail. So it's just a really bad storm, Matt, just keep going. And just as that thought process clears my mind, Carrie's like, hey, you know what, Ethan needs to eat, he's waking up. We should get off soon. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, I realize I just passed the town of Battle Creek. So up ahead, there's this wicked town called Kalamazoo. And then there's also another one a little further away called Pawpaw. So I'm thinking, how bad is this storm? Do I pull off now, or do I make it to Pawpaw and see if I can get through this? So I decide secretly, I'm gonna push on, I'm going to Pawpaw. And then Carrie decides, no, you need to turn off now. So I just make the turn off into Kalamazoo. And so I turn off, it's just before lunch. I pull into literally a vacant parking lot at a Burger King. And I pull up as close to the door as I possibly can. We get out, I grab Ethan, grab his big bag of stuff, and both Carrie and I try and shelter him, and we dash in. And we didn't really make it. He was totally dry. We were soaking wet. And so we end up pulling this table up right beside a window, and we start literally pulling out his stuff, this chemistry set of bottles that we had put aside, and a bunch of boiling water that we squirreled away in a whole series of thermoses. And then the thing is, we're setting it all up. And I look up, and all of a sudden, parking lot's full. 25 people mad dash into Burger King. And my first thought is like, holy crap, people are really serious about their lunchtime around here. The weirdest thing is nobody lines up. Everybody just huddles in the seated area. I'm thinking, okay, that's weird. And just as those synapses are firing, the server comes running out from the back and looks me square in the eye and says this. Does that baby have any winter clothes? what? No, why? Because there's a tornado coming and we might have to seek shelter in the freezer. So my guts twist inside out. Shit, sorry. And she also lets us know that we got to get away from this window. So I quickly gather Carrie up with the car seat and Ethan, and we move to the center. This old couple kind of makes room at the table they're occupying. We sit down. And both Carrie and I, we just locked eyes. And we're not saying a word, but we can see how terrified we are. And we got this kid who's just looking up at us, waiting to eat. And the place is a hive of activity. I mean, I hear phones going off and people are talking, are you okay? Did you get off the road? Did you hear the siren? Which I obviously did not because we had the, frickin' radio cranked. And the thing is that, it's like, yeah, we're in this Burger King, we're off the I-94, we're in Kalamazoo, we're indoors, we're okay. But as this is all happening around me, we're looking at each other and my heart is literally pounding so loud, I can hear it in my ears. And then the server comes out and shouts, it just hit Pawpaw, it's heading this way. Now, that's when I freak out. And I start looking around and I can't help but notice, I'm standing in a Burger King, there is so much glass around and so many cars outside. And I'm thinking, if it hits here, we're either one, get crushed by a car, or the car's gonna come through the glass, smash all of that and cut us to shreds, or worst, we actually go into this freezer and we all get jammed inside because the building comes down around us. Like, this is not gonna end well for anybody. But the worst thing, and when I started thinking, we're next, the more persistent thought that I just couldn't get out of my head was that, how could I have let this happen? I mean, this was my choice. I convinced us, let's go to Chicago. We drove this way. I mapped it all out. Like, how could I have put the two people I love most in this world in so much danger? And the next several minutes, they passed like hours to me. And I'm looking at the storm, and outside I'm watching the trees start to bend. And the server comes out and she yells, it just hit Battle Creek. It just passed right over us. We're in the clear. And as the people around us are all hugging and talking and cheering, I feel like I've been holding my breath the whole time. And I just finally let it out. And I'm finally thinking, I get this warm sensation flood over my entire body, and I'm thinking, we're gonna be okay. But it was more than just this one moment. Like, I knew in this one moment we're gonna be okay, but then I also realized that, like, forever, whatever hits our family, whatever we have to go through, we're gonna be okay. Thank you.